Hey guys, I'm Jordy, and I wanted to talk about the most iconic weapon in Wrath of the Lich King, how to get it, and if you're really looking to min-max it to the limit, how you might go about doing that.
Shadowmourne hungers.
Shadowmourne is a long, extensive quest, second only to maybe the Scarab Lord quest in length and difficulty in Classic WoW to date. I plan on getting one, and you might be thinking, hey, I want one too. Well, this is the video for you. First, let's lay out some things about Icecrown Citadel. ICC, when it was first released, only let you clear the first wing on normal difficulty. 4 weeks into that release, and every 2 weeks thereafter, a new wing opened until finally, the Frostwing Halls and the Lich King were available. Coupled with this was a limited attempts system. Each failed pull on a boss cost you an attempt. These started with 10 and over time progressed upwards to 50 total late in the phase. There was also an optional buff that was eventually put into place that increased your raid's health, healing, and damage output by 5% every month up to 30%. People were raiding this place a long time. Finally, in order to do the heroic difficulty of ICC, you had to have cleared normal at some point, which meant you couldn't even start heroic until after all the normal wings were cleared 2 months into ICC's release. That's all to say, we don't know how Blizzard will release Icecrown Citadel this time around. In the past, with Sunwell Plateau, they chose to forego the old release cadence in favor of just dropping the whole thing on the rip. Personally, I strongly prefer this. Classic players are much better than players were back in the day, and I think we can handle it. But who knows? Now, this video assumes everything is released right away. This may not be the case. If it's not, the availability of certain parts of this quest will just not be there, and your axe progression will slow down considerably. But who knows? Okay, now onto the quest. Now, the Shadowmourne quest is a 9-part quest chain starting just inside Icecrown Citadel to the left here with Darien Mograine. The quest chain has you do a bunch of different things, but your 2 big bottlenecks will be collecting 25 Primordial Serenite, random blue drops from bosses with an ICC, and also possibly from the Emblem of Frost vendor over here for 23 emblems. The other bottleneck will be the 50 Shadowfrost Shards that you need to collect. We'll get into these later, just know that all of the min-maxing I'm going to talk about will be in service of getting to the Shadowfrost Shard part of the quest as soon as possible. Alright, so Darien Mograine. You first have to be friendly with the Ashen Verdict, the reputation associated with ICC. This reputation has a bunch of things associated with it, but it primarily will provide a ring that upgrades per reputation like we had in Mount Hyjal, and these are all very good. Now, this shouldn't be too hard to do, but you should consider trash farming before the first boss, Lord Marigar, for the reputation, as you'll want to preserve your boss and trash for a part of the quest later in the chain. So do about 5 trash clears of the first 2 rooms on 10 or 25 man to get there. Okay, so you're friendly. Now the fun begins. He'll give you the first quest in the chain, the Sacred and the Corrupt. You are to retrieve some stuff on Darien's shopping list to make the first part of the axe leading to Shadowmourne. This requires Light's Vengeance, Arthas' mace that he discarded in favor of Frostmourne, Festergut and Rotface's Acidic Blood, epic drops that can only be retrieved once per boss on 25 man, and 25 Primordial Serenite. Okay, so Light's Vengeance is pretty easy. It's just a small event in the cave in Dragonblight. Some undead will spawn, and then an elite. It's super easy, nothing to worry about. Now, Festergut and Rotface's Acidic Blood will be a bit harder. You'll want to kill up to and including them, but not Professor Putricide or any of the other bosses in ICC in the other wings. Getting a raid to agree to this week 1 might be difficult, but we're min-maxing here, so see what you can do. Now the hard part. 25 Primordial Serenite. From what people have told me, these things originally dropped from ICC bosses, both 10 and 25 man, but quickly were put on the vendor for 23 Emblems of Frost. I can't actually verify that claim personally, but we're just going to assume they're going to be on the vendor like a lot of the other mid-phase things Blizzard has added in Classic at the start of each phase. Alright, it's going to be very expensive to get these things week 1, if that's your goal. Plan accordingly. Most people will be looking at finishing this part of the quest in around week 3 or 4, but with some real sweat, you can get it done sooner. Even week 1. Okay, that's the Sacred and the Corrupt. Darian will now fuse these 4 ingredients together into Shadow's Edge, a pretty great axe on its own that you're going to be using for a while. Once it's complete, you'll be offered the quest, A Feast of Souls. Use Shadow's Edge to slay 1,000 of the Lich King's minions and collect their souls. This quest is pretty simple, if a bit grindy. Every mob you hit in ICC will be debuffed with something called Shadow's Fate that enables you to collect 1 soul from it upon its death. Now this works for both 10 and 25 man stuff in ICC, and trash counts just as much as bosses. Just because Syndragosa is a big mother doesn't mean she's got any more than 1 soul in her. Now this is where farming trash comes back into the picture. You'll likely be able to find lots of people farming trash for rep, but either way, you're going to want to get your closest friends, insert yes honey meme, and do some trash resets in 10 or 25 man. If you've been pushing to get as far in the quest as you can week 1, that means 10 man, as your 25 man instance will be cleared pretty far already. This first area, before Lord Marogar, has about 50 mobs that you can clear. Do that, then reset the instance and do it again. Do this about 20 times and boom, you've satiated the blade's hunger for souls. Also, there's some nifty voice lines that Arthas whispers at you during this quest.
I see you two are gathering souls for your own ends. Are we really so different, champion?
What a spooky emo king. Alright, souls collected, we return to Darian again and begin the first of 3 infusion quests, starting with Unholy Infusion. Infuse Shadow's Edge with Unholy Power, and then slay Professor Putricide. Now, ideally, you've saved Putricide and the other final wing bosses for this part of the quest. Putricide is a fun, asynchronous fight that requires 1 person to brave his table of potions and drink one, turning into a monstrous abomination and giving you the ability to hoover up the green slime pools he leaves on the ground so that your raid has enough room to move around safely. If you're on this quest, however, you also get a 4th ability that once your little A-bomb belly is full up with ooze, you channel a spell that converts it into unholy power into your newly minted Shadow's Edge. After you've done that, finish the fight and down Putricide. Boom, first of 3 done. Back to Darian, let's pick up the second, Blood Infusion. You clear the princes and then move up the ramp around to Blood Queen Lanethil, a vampiric Darkfallen that the Lich King felt he needed to raise up as his citadel was a little too masculine. So this is a specific position fight with lots of individual raider responsibility that I'm sure everyone will do perfectly right the first time, but what you're looking to do as the Shadow's Edge wielder is be afflicted by Blood Mirror and then Bloodthirst. From there, you're going to want to go around and give your 3 best friends a little bite, spreading your love around, and infusing Shadow's Edge with blood energy. Not exactly simple. I'll be sure to have a full guide for this and all the bosses in ICC closer to release. Okay, Blood Infused. On to the final of the 3, Frost Infusion. Let big ol' Cindy breath you 4 times in 1 fight without dying. This one's actually pretty simple, minus the not dying part. Just stand in front of her and boom, minty fresh. Each breath slows you, which can complicate the fight, so keep fiddling with it until you get it right. There's a lot of discussion on wearing frost resistance here. I'd probably recommend it for anyone looking to prepare ahead of time, but it's likely paladins and DKs can just use their near invincibility while us poor warriors will cower and beg for heals. Once she does go down and you've got 4 stacks, you are done. Okay, so frost infused. Nice. Now for the final difficult part, the Splintered Throne. Now this quest, this is the one that you've been rushing as fast as you can to reach because it's the true bottleneck for this quest line. Collect 50 Shadowfrost Shards. These only drop off of bosses in 25-man and have a higher chance on heroic than normal. From what I've been reading, heroic has about a 75% chance to drop them, while normal between 25 and 50. So yeah, you're incentivized to do heroics from the rip, but you'll get it eventually no matter what. This means if you're full clearing heroic, you're looking at about 6 weeks to finish this quest, RNG permitting. And if you've completed the entire quest line up to this point, week 1, you can actually get your very first shard from the Lich King week 1. Only the absolute sweatiest will be able to accomplish this, and only permitting that the entire raid is released right away instead of some tiered release like it was back in the day. We just don't know. Now, weeks will go by, you're collecting shards, you get your 49th on the Lich King one week, and you're sad you have to wait a whole nother week. That'll never happen to me because my luck has never been bad. And voila, 50 shards. Return to Darien and present it to him, where he'll take your Shadow's Edge and infuse it with the shards and reward you with what you've been fighting for all this time. Shadowmourne. Congratulations. But wait, there's more. You'll receive a final quest to defeat the Lich King, and once doing so, you'll be able to loot a sealed chest from Arthas himself that starts a quest. Return it to Darien, where he'll unseal it for you, and you're given a bunch of trash. No, actually, this is the stuff the heroes of Azeroth that aided you up to this point might be looking for. You get some cool RP of them reminiscing about how much of a dick Arthas was, and then you get a keepsake for your trouble. A music box that summons a couple singing banshees, a tabard that will be sure to annoy your friends, a second Hearthstone to Dalaran, a Crimson Death Charger mount, and some dwarf cocaine that rips your clothes off and turns you into Mr. Freeze. Okay, well that's Shadowmourne. I hope you learned something. This quest looks to be super fun, and I can't wait to do it myself once ICC releases. If you enjoyed this video and want more stuff like this, consider throwing me a like and subscribe. It really does help me a bunch, and I can't thank you enough. And thanks to everyone who subscribed to my Patreon. You guys are amazing, and I'm super grateful. Stay tuned on this space for guides for TOGC and ICC soon, as well as a bunch more classic WoW content in the future. All right, I appreciate it. See you guys out there.